start your flavorful liquids, can you grab me, sir, Justin, can you grab me the rack back there? When you're doing this particular exercise of setting up demo, I like to put the recipes based on how I'm going to do them in order that I'm going to do them on a rack behind me. That way I can get into my business and have my pass clear so you guys can take note.
Yes, chef.
Whose microphone is that?
Mine.
Mine?
Was.
Alright, so first things first, starting flavorful liquids. And what does that mean? So if I'm doing my Bechamel, my Veloute, and my Espagnole, right? So I might need a little bit more chicken stock, question mark. So starting my flavorful liquids with their flavorful ingredients, step number 1 on our timeline. I brought in some of those from my garden, so I'll throw one in my milk now, but I just want you to smell. So remember I told you, like you saw the difference between the California Bay, the long thin. This is Bay Laurel, and it has a lovely scent to it. So instead of doing a studded onion, I'm going to chop up the onion. This will make it the sauce a lot more flavorful and slightly sweet as well. If you haven't picked one of these up, I highly recommend it. It just makes it easy to keep your area clean as well. So low simmer because I don't want this to boil over. And then my other flavorful liquid is going to be my veloute. In with my chicken stock, I'm adding in mushroom and white mirepoix and letting that simmer together. And that one is going to be, it's going to take, do you want to give me about this much more of the chicken stock that's the size of that? You can just scoop it in there, sister. So the other one is going to be veal stock, and the only thing that's going to go into the veal. And I want just a little less than that. Is going to be my bouquet garni. So step number 1, start your flavorful liquids with their flavorful ingredients. And that is going to be mushroom, white mirepoix over here. Bouquet garni in there as well. Okay. My veal stock has my bouquet garni. And we're good to go. So, step number 2, make our roux. So I'm going to double up on this roux. So I have roux stuff down here, and for my white roux and my blonde roux, I'm going to do one and the same. So did you already combine them for me? Is that what this is? No? Just random?
No, they are weighed out.
They are weighed out. Thank you. Thank you. So as you go and as you use your ingredients, stack up your dishes. This is the stuff that's going to go in your side sinks. Do like the little stacking, do the, the pints and the half pints together. And then just get them out of your way and organize so you work as clean as you possibly can. So with your whisk, you're going to make your white roux and your blonde roux. butter, getting my little step stool to stand on. Don't judge, I'm short. Whisking in flour. This one was weighed out for veloute, right? Don't need clarified butter. Not for making the roux. I feel like the recipe that you guys have for your roux in your book is too flour heavy. So we might cut down a little bit. And I'm going to show you the consistency that I'm looking for both sauces. Because if you used all this flour, it would be too chunky. Turn that down a little bit. So you can do yours in a pot. I recommend those, do you have a question? I recommend the smaller pots that you have up there. I think that's going to work out a lot better for you for room, and also the reason why I do a lot of these sauces in some of these larger pots, like I'm going to show you how to do some of the sauces in these pots behind me, is so you can look inside and see what I'm actually doing. But realize that when you are using some of the larger sauce pots for making some of these sauces, that you're utilizing a larger surface area, and so you'll have less control because there's more evaporation and there's more of a risk of overcooking something. So we're starting our first out with our white roux. I always keep a dry towel handy. These handles get hot. Now it's melted in the You're dry, and here's something I've learned about myself, especially since we've been doing a lot more of this ACF challenges, is this always ends up being my security blanket. And I have a really bad habit. I have line cook habits, and one of that habit is sticking it up over my shoulder. It's a bad habit. Don't do that. So, but do keep a dry towel next to you at all times. Make sure you have your sandy bucket and you're constantly changing out your sandy bucket, you know, to make sure that, and especially when you're working with any proteins, but that you're always keeping a dry towel next to you, but you're not using your sandy rag as your rag to be able to pull stuff out of the oven or wiping down plates in any way. Now you see it's starting to get bubbly and kind of chunky. That's what I'm looking for my white roux. That I'm actually getting that consistency where, and I can smell it more than anything else. When we use all of our senses when we're making food, right? So obviously we're making, you know, a roux. I want it to start getting bubbly and start to show me that it's getting cooked down. See how it's starting to get bubbly like that? Instead of just melting, it's actually getting kind of chunky. If I leave it alone, you'll see it start to get a little active. Food will talk to you, right? It will tell you, like when you put something in the deep fryer, you know, it makes a noise. It's pretty aggressive, right? It makes a lot of loud noise, and as it starts to settle down and cook, it gets quieter, right? You smell with your nose, obviously. You can smell when something's getting burned, right? Overcooking something, or not cooked enough. Not only taste, but, you know, so it's visual and also sound. Does anybody know about Grant Achatz, who was the chef, is the chef at Alinea and also Next? So this is a Michelin star rated, 2-star rated chef who has and had one of the, when he got his second, I believe when he got his second star, that's when, it's talking to me, right? It's telling me that it's starting to boil over, so I'm listening to my food. Now you see, here's where it's white roux. See how it's starting to relax a little bit and melt? So this is where I'm going to take out some of it. So it's settled down. Anyway, so this kid, you know, he's a Michelin star rated chef and, you know, just amazing, and New York Times loves him, and he's innovative. I'll bring in his book, Alinea, and let you take a look at it. I mean, talk about molecular gastronomy to the fullest degree. This guy is just, he's a pioneer, right? And during this time where his restaurant is at the top that he actually can be, he discovers that he has tongue cancer. And, you know, here's this guy who, you know, is absolutely amazing, as a chef, has tongue cancer. So he goes in and he gets all these treatments, and during the process of getting radiation treatments, he loses all taste, right? So as we taste it today, I mean, he can't even taste sweet, sour, salty, let alone taste flavor, for that matter. He's worked so well with his sous chefs and the people that have been in the kitchen with him for so long, that when he got his star, he wasn't able to taste anything. But his sous chefs were so strong, and the people that worked with him so long knew his style of cooking so well, that they were able to beat his flavor. Pretty amazing. He now has his taste back. He just recently wrote a book that I've yet to read. I want to read it. It just came out. But he talks about his experience. The other thing that he does that's quite amazing is a couple of things. What he does is he closes down his restaurant for a period of time, keeps, you know, his staff on his salary, and allows them to spend time with his family, which is pretty amazing, being able to spend time with your family when you're in this industry. Quite amazing. The thing that's cool about him is that, you know, one of the things that they talk about is him being able to emulate experiences. So experiences in the sense of, like, he talks about a fall day growing up in the Midwest in the fall, and what that means to him and what that experience looks like. And what that means to him was, you know, burning leaves and, you know, the crispness in the air, apples, you know, roasting meats, raises. So to try to replicate that experience for the diner, he would do this, like, you know, roasted pork dish, and then he would take, you know, and do like these roasted apples, and then do an apple, a kind of reduction sauce, and then he would take burning leaves and capture the smoke in a cloche, and so as it went out to the diner, you would lift up this, you know, this dish with the you know, glass cloche, and the smell of the you know, burnt leaves and the roasted apples and the pork and everything was all, so you experienced what he experienced as a child. So look at the difference between the two of these. Obviously this one, the white roux, is much stronger, and then we have our blonde roux, right? So now what we're going to do, so we have our two roux. So step number 2 was adding our thickeners to our sauces, or step number 3 is adding our thickeners to our sauces. So using our same whisk, actually, let me go back to this one here. I'm going to take butter now, and I'm going to start my Espagnole. So the first stage with this, and I will go over all of this with you, is start to brown your vegetables. So your mirepoix, right? So we're doing a roux in the pot, so I'm starting with my butter in here, and I have equal amount of butter or flour over here, but I'm not ready for it just quite yet. So I'm going to push that down. start adding in my mirepoix. And for Espagnole, the color that we're looking for is what?
Brown.
Brown. So not only am I going to brown my vegetables, I'm also going to brown my tomato paste as well. So I'm going to take it from being, bright red to, a brownish red, a brick color when I'm ready to add that into this. So I'm going to start my veg and let those go. Stirring occasionally. I want to get some good brown color in here. It used to be that you could add some meat to this as well to get some good brown meat in here. I don't have any. We might have some bacon in there. Do you want to check and see if there's bacon in there, Arkansas? Which will make it delicious. Right? There may or may not be any in there. Might just be shooting in the dark. No bacon? We'll just pretend. We'll just make it that much more delicious without it, using our delicious stock. So and I'm stirring every once in a while because again, that protein in the milk acts like a magnet to the heat, so I want to make sure that it's not sticking to the bottom. And then checking all my other stuff on my things and making sure that they look fantastic while browning my veg. Now, while my veg is browning, I'm going to add my thickeners to my sauce. So my white roux to my bechamel, that's the one that's going to cook the longest. But I'm not adding all of it. I might add part of it. Because, again, there's a few factors that I can, need to think about. Evaporation and what the use is that I'm looking for. And the fact that this needs to cook for at least 40 minutes, if not more, right? So I'm going to whisk that in and then check it after a little while. Let's see where it's at. My blonde roux to my veloute. The one that I'm doing in the back is actually going to be glacé, so that's going to take a while to cook. That might be towards the end. And again, not all of it. Depends on what it is I'm using it for, right? Some of it. So there's two factors we control in the, well, three factors we control in the kitchen. First one is ourselves. So being in control of our environment, working clean, working calm, working structured with a plan, right? That's us. That's our control that we have. The second is our heat. We control the heat, not the other way around. So we want to make sure that we're constantly keeping an eye on how high my burners are. In a commercial restaurant, we're always cooking on high heat. There's not a simmer low long period of time. That happens during prep. So all these sauces would be made ahead of time. These aren't sauces that would be made, a la minute, which is right at the last minute. It would be made ahead of time during prep work when you can simmer. When you get an order, you can't say, wait, I have to let my sauce simmer. You're going to have to wait 40 minutes for your dish, right? So obviously making sure that, this is part of your prep work. So, but we can control our heat. The other thing that is a good variable to control is water. So if I see that one of my sauces is getting over reduced, or if I see something that's getting over caramelized and I'm not ready for it to be caramelized, I can hit it with a skosh of water. A, I can thin something down if it's getting over reduced, and B, I can hit it with water to dissolve any of the sugars that are happening. If something's starting to burn, control it with a little bit of water and stop that action, stop the violence. Stop the violence, man. All right, so I'm letting that go and do its thing. So all my thickeners are added to my two other sauces over here, right? And I'm going to let those simmer, and I'll come back and check them out and see how they're doing. While now I'm going to go over and start making my mayonnaise. So now I will take those herbs that you start working on. You can come come up here with me. Chop them up. I'll ask Kim if he needs any egg whites. I doubt it though. We don't need egg whites for a while, so. But generally, we're going to check and see where else there needs to be some ice. We'll wash your hands off. Most chefs, I know you were taught something different downstairs, but most chefs crack their eggs in their hands. And the reason is my hands don't have sharp edges, but my shells do. Right? So it's less likely to break any of the yolk. So I'm going to do just a 2 yolk with a little bit of mustard. Whipping them well in a bowl first. You guys sick of me doing mayonnaise yet? Really what I want to see is your emulsions tomorrow. You can do whatever you like. I'm doing like a derivative by using sauce verte, making a sauce verte, and then making it into a remoulade. So sauce verte is finzer, and finzer is chervil, parsley, tarragon, and chives. Then I'm going to make it into a remoulade by adding cornichon, which are like little baby pickles. Cornichon. Capers, anchovies, lemon juice. I don't want this to boil over, so I'm going to control it a little bit. Making sure it's not going to stick. Alright, you're my man, you gotta go back all on this, okay? Because I'm short, I use the pot just to stabilize it. That's why you get a belly, so your belly can start stabilizing it. Somebody with a flat stomach could do this. Okay, we're going to have to work on you. Also a good sign of a chef, your cheeks and jowls jiggle when you whisk, and also your belly. You're in business, you're in the right business. Everything should jiggle a little bit. Jiggle it just a little bit. In this class there's hand signs, dances, and songs for many things that we do in here. The thing is that you have to do them. If I teach them to you, you have to do them. This is the whisking dance. Bounce with it, bounce with it.
Am I twerking?
Don't, there's no twerking in here.
No, we were the Wednesday thing last. Oh, trumping.
Yeah, you were
Talking
trumping.
or twerking.
Trumping.
I said, twerk away, no.
I was like, wait, no, we were twerking. What were we doing? I don't know what happened when you hurt your back. Was it twerk?
That's when you hurt your back.
I thought, right?
Twerk your back.
Twerk. I twerk my back now.
Twerking will hurt your back. So getting our good emulsion. your mayonnaise, I should be able to lift your mayonnaise up over my head. Right?
Don't add all the lemon juice.
No, I'm not adding anything in here but egg and oil and mustard. So what was the explanation behind doing it over ice?
And it's a cold emulsion that needs to stay cool.
Put it in the fridge after you're done.
Well, that's crazy because she told us to do it like that. And I made tartar sauce at home and I started with mayonnaise. I did it without ice and it whipped right up.
Whipped right up, even better. Yeah.
Right up.
Room temperature. Again, chickens don't go into the walk-ins to lay their eggs. And most bakers, it's true, they don't. And most bakers use room temperature eggs because they whip up higher, faster, better.
Do you remember when you could set eggs out and just put them in that little
Yeah, I used to get at this winery I worked at. I used to get eggs delivered every day, and we just let them out because we went through them. They whip up better. Just saying.
But you also knew where they were coming from, correct?
Yeah, of course. But
Chicken.
they still whip up better at room temperature.
But I mean, in
Letting
the
them sit out a
store,
little bit. Yeah, but still, yeah, you're going to keep them in the fridge,
Yeah.
of course. Time to make sure that this isn't boiling over.
And that's regular butter, chef?
Correct. All right, now I'm going to add in my pince, my tomato paste. And I'm going to brown my tomato paste. All right, so coming back over here to my remoulade, nice stiff mayonnaise. I'm going to use my hand strainer that is right here. I'm going to add in some fun stuff and things to it. So I'm going to add in, throw things, I'm going to add in some, I bought this the other day. It's just a nice Guard whole grain mustard. Like that. And ready to eat, right? So I'm wearing gloves. I'm going to add in my lemon juice. Lemon juice. Lots of lemon juice. Spritzing. Delicious. Cornichon, and baby pickles, baby pickles, some anchovy, don't even diss my anchovy, anchovies are delicious, some capers, tarragon, chives, chervil, parsley, then I'm going to cut up some red grape. And I'm not adding my salt just yet. I'll add a little pepper. Alright, so let's come back over here to this. I'm adding my flour now too. Remember I have in here butter, right? And I'm going to brown that flour. Should be I have my beef stock simmering over there, right? Brown, brown, brown. I want to try to get as much brown as I can out of here. Turn down a little bit.
Like bones and stuff, that shit?
What's that?
Like real bones and stuff? I mean, they used to sell them at like Safeway, but I don't see
You
it.
can ask your butcher for them.
That's how you make it.
So based on where I'm at, I might add a little bit, just checking it, I might add a little bit extra white roux here. And it looks like my veloute is around the consistency that I'm looking for. So what happens if this gets too thick? Add water or add more milk, yeah. Let this get nice and brown, and then I'm going to add in my brown veal stock. See, it's starting to change, getting to more like a brick color. There's a little bit of color in here. Dip my arms in there without burning it. Let that simmer. Reduce down. Remember, there's flour in here, equal parts butter and flour, so I have my brown roux already in here, so I'm going to let that simmer, simmer, simmer. Alright, I have a serrated knife, and I'm going to season that up just a skosh, and I'm going to let you taste it. Ready to eat? Love, love. How many of you have not used your serrated knife yet? What I'm going to ask you to do is very carefully take off the plastic and throw the plastic away. The plastic is not a knife guard. People injure themselves all the time by taking that plastic and using it as a knife guard and trying to stick it back on there. It's like, you know what it is? It's the, when you get a new phone, you've got to peel off the plastic. It's pretty much that. It's not a knife guard. This is the one that's going to bite you. This is the one that's going to hurt, is your serrated knife. It has teeth, and it wants to bite into you at all times. So you really want to be careful with it. It is one of my favorite knives to use, though. I use it for fruit. I use it for bread. I use it for tomatoes. It's delicious. So is there a little bit of pepper? Nice little salt and pepper out here. Is there some in the cage there?
I'm making this.
Yeah, no worries. I just need a break. Thank you. So, salt.
Close to you.
I just wish my scaler was working better.
I know.
Everybody wants to be on the camera. Everybody wants to be in the movie.
Perhaps a little bit. Yeah, but you have skinny fingers. Mine are short and fat.
Now, I'm not putting any pepper in my
Bechamel.
my bechamel.
Nutmeg for that.
There's well, we're supposed to have a bouquet garni in here, but you can add the peppercorn in here. These are all the consistency that I'm looking for. So let's start with the first one being the bechamel. The consistency nappe, right? That I'm looking for. Needs a little bit more salt. Needs a little bit of nutmeg. With my new microplane.
It's a very nice one that you got today.
Little goes a long way. Not so much. So what we don't use today, we'll use on Friday. You want to just pop the, there you go. There we go. Thank you. Hand me that plate. This one. Thank you. When you're using a chinois, you always want to use a ladle that fits to the base of the bottom, pushing through the solids. So it fits in there perfectly. I always want to say it's centrifugal force, but it's probably I'm using it in the wrong context. I don't know what kind of pressure it is called actually. Does anybody know? Is it centrifugal force?
Root strength.
Root strength.
Centrifugal force.
Is what?
Circle.
Spinning. So then this would just be the
Mash.
process of
Pushing it through.
Mash
pushing it
straight.
through.
Match straining.
Yeah. So I'm looking for nappe, not too thick. Jeez, throwing in things around here.
Little extra protein.
I'm going to do baked eggs Florentine with it.
I reloaded.
You wanted to give this to Ray.
So just a little trick or hint. If you feel like your sauce is starting to stick to the bottom of the pan and you're not sure if it's going to get ready to scorch, the best thing that you can do is switch to another pan. There's no bringing back any flavor from scorch. No piece of boiled potato, no bread, no nothing. It's just straight scorched. Boom. So, and this is a fairly thick sauce. I'm going to push through some of those veg.
You like to do this figure?
Oops. I'm going to drag some in here. Now, this sauce, actually I can thin this down just a little bit.
This is that field stock, it stops.
Sir?
I mean, when I make them at home, we call it gravy at the house. And it's different color gravy, but that stock makes such a big difference.
Yeah.
It tastes just like, I mean, wow.
Nappe. Again, it should fall into itself, and it shouldn't plop onto itself. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, like when you take wet sand, it plops onto itself. I want it to fall into itself. If that makes any sense. Hopefully it does. Thank you.
Oh. That should be more than enough, yeah.
And veloute.
Yeah.
Thick as it's gonna get. So that's as thick as it's gonna get, right there. Obviously, this wouldn't be a true. I just wanted to show you
Cold slurry.
The difference between the two. And this is just a very clear chicken stock. It's not like you would do for your turkey gravy with all your neck and your bits and your stuff and your things. This is just an example. So this one obviously does not take as long, so it's generally used quite often to thicken things up on the line. And especially based on the clarity. Although I am going to go, see, look at the clarity on it versus the roux, right?